Hello, and welcome back to Addis Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show coming in. A lot of stories coming out. Apparently, Man United have dropped the value of Garnacho for 40 to 40 million pounds, but Chelsea value Nicholas Jackson at 80 to 100 million pounds. Make it make sense. If Nicholas Jackson is 80 million pounds, if Madueke is 52 million pounds, if you sell Garnacho to Chelsea for 40 million pounds, that is an absolute disgrace. I don't care how bad we want Garnacho out. He is on low wages. He is better than Gittins. He is better than Elanga. And those two players are older and went for 55 million pounds. He's better than Madueke, that's 4 years old and went for 52 million pounds. In this market, I don't care what you say. I don't care if you rate Garnacho or not. But in this market, we should be getting 60 million for Garnacho. His fall out of Amarin ruins the price. But if we get anything less than 50 million for Garnacho, it's a disgrace when you look at the market. If Nicholas Jackson is valued at 80 to 100 million by Chelsea, Garnacho is not a 40 million pound player. Max Kilman went for 40 million. Garnacho is not going for less than Dibbling, Tell, Madueke, Elanga, Gittins. I won't have that. Elanga had been good at Forest, but Elanga is 3.5, 4 years older than Garnacho. But there's talk of Garnacho's price dropping to 40 million. There is talk of Villa interest. And I'm just going to say, if Garnacho's 40 million pounds, I think half of the Premier League will want to sign him because that would be an absolute robbery there. There is talk of United potentially preparing a bid for Lammens. Could this be because pre-season tours around the corner and we don't have a Nana? Could we make a bid for a keeper despite no keeper sale to get him in for the tour? But the big story coming out is in regards to Jadon Sancho, because we've had a lot of stories coming out in regards to Jadon Sancho. And a lot of reports coming out that a deal is close. He's close to joining Juventus. A deal is close. He's accepted a wage cut, but then he hadn't. But we've had no confirmation from anyone reliable about Sancho and Juventus agreements that have been reported. All these Italian media's sources are reporting about Sancho to Juventus being close, but we've not had one top tier source confirm those stories until today. Duncan Castles, who's been very reliable lately. Now, last season, Duncan Castles was the first guy to say we're in for Ugarte. The next day or 2-3 days later, that was confirmed by David Ornstein. Also with Duncan Castles, he was the only journalist that was saying 4 weeks ago, no, Man United and Boomer is not closed. Brentford wants 70 million. It's not closed, blah, blah, blah. He was the only one that was telling us the truth of the Mbumo situation. He told us that it wasn't close. He was telling us it was 70 million. That's what we needed to make. And he was spot on with Ugarte. Now, Duncan Castles is talking about Sancho to Juventus finally being closed. I think what's going to happen is Man United want 25 million euros for Sancho. But Juventus are willing to give us 20 million euros for Sancho, and that 5 million euros Juventus will pay Sancho in salary to make him leave. So it looks like it could be a scenario where Sancho gets basically 5 million euros. Oh, is my phone bleeping? No, it's not. Sancho will get 5 million euros of his transfer fee to leave the club. So we will get a bit less for Sancho. But we've got Duncan Castles talking about Jadon Sancho. But look, we're probably going to get out 16 million pounds for Sancho. We've got Rashford gone with lots of different reported buy clauses on loan. We get 40 million for Garnacho. That is a disgrace. I don't care if you guys don't rate Garnacho. In this market, he's a 60 million pound player. If Semenyo is 75 million, if Dibbling is over 60 million valued, if Nicholas Jackson is 80 million valued, Garnacho we should be getting 60 million for. So we're going to talk about that, news of a Lammens bid, the latest on Rashford's exit, because there's a few conflicting reports on Rashford's exit as well. But I mean, as you said, the Jackson going for 80 to 100 million talk is a joke. Yeah, we're not going to pay that kind of money for him. For me, I would take Jackson at 40 million pounds, but anything more, no. Mate, okay, you've not watched Gittins play. Gittins, these last 6 months, has been on the bench for Dortmund. Dortmund, easier team to get into, easier league. 1 goal in the last 6 months. Gittins struggling to put in a performance for Dortmund, struggling to get off the bench. Okay? Look, Gittins is a talent. Gittins was unbelievable the first 3 months of the season. The first 3 months of the season was unbelievable. New manager came in. He's been worse than Garnacho. So if Gittins is 55 million pounds when he's been on the bench for 6 months and got 1 goal in 6 months, that's all I'm saying. That's not me going in on Gittins. I actually think there's a very good talented player in Gittins. But people like Nico Williams, Gittins, I think just overrated by people that don't watch them. because we don't watch. We don't like the thing is we watch Man United week in week out, so we see everything. We see Garnacho's good games, we see Garnacho's bad games. We don't watch a lot of Dortmund, and if you do watch Dortmund, if I've watched a few of Dortmund's recent games, Gittins wasn't good. He was good early stages of the Champions League. He was good early in the season. He was incredible. I really liked him, but he's not been good for 6 months at Dortmund. Not been good for 6 months. Like he started the season really well. You know, he got 10 goals and I think 4 assists at the start of the season, and only managed 1 goal and 1 assist at the end of the season. But in his last 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. In his last 15 Bundesliga games, he got 1 goal and 0 assists. You know, add that as well to 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. In his last 24 games, Gittins has only managed 1 goal and 0 assists. So if Gittins, with 1 goal and 0 assists in his last 24 games, is £55 million, and is Garnacho's age, and has only done it in the Bundesliga, and has a lot less experience than Garnacho, has not played in the Premier League. If Chelsea is spending 55 million on Gittins with 1 goal and 0 assists in his last 24 games, no Premier League experience, and we know that players from Dortmund go to other clubs and they're more likely to fail. Players from Man United, because they're in an unstable environment, go to other clubs and are normally better when they leave United, whereas a lot of Dortmund players aren't always better. If Chelsea valued Gittins at 55 million, then Garnacho for me is £60 million. And people might disagree with that. People might disagree with that because Garnacho has the attitude issues that probably bring him down a bit. But he is worth more than Gittins. If you watch him, for me, he's worth more than Gittins. And I think that's, 40 million for Garnacho would be an absolute disgrace. That's a report coming out from the Telegraph. I'm not saying that Garnacho will be better than Gittins. I think Gittins as a talent is unbelievable. I thought Gittins was unbelievable at the beginning of the season, but you have to take that into context. You have to take that into context. Like, I look at it and I go, Nicholas Jackson, we're 15th place last season. Nicholas Jackson took an 8th place Chelsea team to 6th and 4th. Nicholas Jackson for a good price, £40 million. I take it at United. He'd probably improve us. Nicholas Jackson at 80 million, go and get the Labour. Do you know what I mean? He's a liability. And I worry about Nicholas Jackson and a negative Man United's a liability. Sesko, it feels like the best option for the price has been quoted, but Sesko again is still raw. Is he ready to come in and improve United? Yeah. Look, for me, I would take 50 million for Garnacho out of pure desperation. We're not in a good selling position because we're not putting Garnacho on tour and his fallout of Amorim so public. So I would take 50 million for Garnacho because we're in a bad selling position, but not 40 million. 40 million would be a disgrace for Minios. Max Kilman went for 40 million. If we got 40 million for Garnacho, we've caved and loaned out Rashford. How are you going to sell in on the future? Do you know what I mean? McTominay, who's the same age as Nketiah, went for less than Nketiah last season. Just for context, Nketiah is a striker, McTominay is a midfielder. Last summer, McTominay as a midfielder had more goals than Nketiah as a striker. McTominay is only a year older than Nketiah, and Arsenal got more money from Nketiah, who had 5 goals last season, and 3 of them was against Sheffield United, who got relegated, for more money than we got for midfielder McTominay. And McTominay was not on high wages. The fact that Nketiah went for more money than McTominay, the fact that James Trafford went for more money than Dean Henderson, the fact that Alvaro, who's going to Madrid, went for about 4 million quid. Garnacho's attitude stinks. His attitude is lowering his price tag for sure, but we should be getting more than 40 million for Garnacho. And if you don't know where that report came from, it's from the Times that United are going to lower his price tag to 40 million. We should be getting more than that. No doubt in my mind. So yeah, I want to get into the news though. I want to get into the stories. We've had a little bit of a rant at the start of this video because there's a few things I want to talk about, including Mbeumo. There is a growing concedence from what I've heard that the announcement of the transfer of Bryan Mbeumo is today, God bless, says Sully. So there's a feeling Mbeumo could be announced. I mean, it's normally announced at o'clock. It's not been announced at 5 o'clock. So it could be announced at 6 o'clock. So it could be announced in 19 minutes. It could be announced at 7 o'clock. I think it's going to be announced at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock, I reckon we're going to announce Mbeumo. 7, 8 o'clock. But it's not been announced yet. But there's a feeling that the Mbeumo deal will be announced. Obviously, we've seen some behind-the-scenes pictures of him at Carrington, but we want to see the official pictures of him in a Manchester United shirt. So yeah, that's one report going about in regards to Mbeumo. But I think we want to get into the Sancho news and the Sancho stories because this is the big one. I've reported many times that this source from Italy has claimed that Sancho exit is agreed. This source from Italy has claimed this and that. And I've said all these sources from Italy have been full of BS and nothing has happened. We now have the first really good source of information getting in on the Jadon Sancho stuff. Duncan Castles, spot on with Agate, spot on with Mbeumo. Duncan Castles has been very on the money. He doesn't talk a lot about United, but he's been very on the money in recent years. And he said that Jadon Sancho breaking is close to joining Juventus for a fee worth 20 million euros, which is about 16 million pounds. So basically his book value with some easily achievable bonuses. So we could probably make 20 million for Sancho in pounds if he's actually good at Juventus, with Juventus covering some of the payoff to Sancho and his remaining salary to allow him to move there for a lower salary. Now, there's been reports that Manchester United are going to give Sancho 5 million euros to leave and agree a lower salary at Juventus. We want 25 million euros from Juventus. We're getting 20 million from Juventus. I'm assuming Juventus are giving 5 million to Sancho, hence why we're only getting 20 million from Juventus. But we have add-ons that mean we could get 25 million euros, which is 21 million pounds. I think that is the situation. I think Sancho was close to joining Juventus. I think United and Juventus have agreed a fee. I think Juventus have probably agreed to give Sancho 4.3 million, so he will take a lower wage cut. I think we're just waiting for Sancho to agree something with Juventus. Apparently it's close. We've been told from Italian media it's close. We've been told agreements have been reached from Italian media days ago, but this is Italian media. But now we have Duncan Castles actually saying this is close, actually suggesting there's a breakthrough, actually suggesting there's a structure to this, and actually suggesting that this could happen. So look, we're not going to make much money off Sancho because we're literally letting him go for book value, but that's someone off the wage bill, gone for book value, one less issue for Amber. And at the end of the day, with Sancho and Rashford going, we're going to save nearly £30 million in wages. We're going to save nearly £30 million in wages. Yes, we're not getting good money, but at least we're going to save 30 million in wages. Do I think we could have sold Rashford on a permanent to Barcelona for 35, 40 million? Yes, I think we could have. And I think if we were Chelsea, Barcelona would have brought Rashford for 40 million pounds, because I look at Barcelona having the money for Diaz and Nico Williams, but not having the money for Rashford. I think if we were Chelsea, we would have got the money for Rashford. And it's annoying that he's gone out on loan, because I think Betis will see that and want to get Anthony on loan and not do a permanent, because we folded and gave Barcelona what they want. So we might fold and give Betis what they want because we're desperate to sell Anthony. So it's annoying. But the more players out, the better. The more players out the door, the better. Duncan Castles, when was the last time he broke a story that's true? It's been a long time. He doesn't necessarily break stories like done deal, but what Duncan Castles did last year was he said exclusive, Manchester United are in for Agate. 2 days later, David Ornstein confirmed we're in for Agate, and then we started making moves for Agate. He was the guy that said exclusive, Agate's our target. He was the guy that said 4 weeks ago that Mbeumo was not close, despite Ben Jacobs, Alex Crook, and a lot of journalists. Rich Fay, some of the journalists saying that Mbeumo's medical had been scheduled in for next week and the deal was closed 4 weeks ago. Duncan Castle came out and said, no, it's not close, 70 million. So for me, Duncan Castles isn't an Ornstein, he isn't Romano, but he's not been lying to us. He's been, doesn't say much about United, but he's been very on the money recently. Very, very on the money recently. Duncan Castle. So I think you've got to give him credit. Like, this is what I said the other day. I think now he's getting on the Sancho story. I'm not saying that it's 100% correct. Who knows? But I'm saying that there's some credibility there to say, okay, fair enough. Because this is what I said on July 18th. So Duncan Castles posted on June 27th. June 27th. This is when we were told. We got Mbeumo, here we go, on July 18th. But on June 27th, we were being told all this information that Mbeumo was close to joining Man United, yeah? On June 27th. Duncan Castles was the only journalist to disagree with that. He said United are yet to agree a fee with Brentford, despite reports coming out from 4 or 5 quite credible United sources. He said that Brentford value him at 70 million, and Man United intend to stay disciplined on the price, aka it's going to take a lot of time. He said that June 27th. So he was one of the only journalists that got things right in regards to Mbeumo. So I'm going to believe what he says on Sancho, and I'm going to say that, he's earned his credibility there, in my opinion. You got to wait for Ornstein and Romano, 100%. But when some random Italian source says a deal was close to being done, you're sceptical. When Duncan Castle says a deal was close to being done, you more likely believe it. Then you just got to wait for Ornstein and Romano to say a deal is done. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not saying Garnacho is better than Elanga, but Elanga's 4 years older than Garnacho. This time, 4 years ago, when Elanga was Garnacho's age, Garnacho was better. Garnacho is better than Elanga at Garnacho's current age. Elanga is better than Garnacho now, but there's 4 years difference. Elanga's gone for 55 million, 4 years older than Garnacho. Garnacho should be going for 55 million because right now, Garnacho is better than Elanga was 4 years ago right now. And Garnacho's a higher potential than Elanga being good, I'm just saying. There's a 3 years difference there. Sesko's good, but he's a 9.5. Sesko definitely ain't a 9.5, guys. He definitely ain't a 9.5. How old's Elanga? Elanga's 24, I believe, and Garnacho is 20 or 21. So yeah. Anyway, let's continue on into some more news and stories going about. I don't think Elanga's that much better than Garnacho. I don't think there's a lot in it. I think Elanga comes up against less low blocks, and it's easier for him. But look, Elanga's harder working. Elanga will go, has more value. But Garnacho, we should be getting 55, 60 million for. And I'll stick with that. If you're wondering where that story came from, James Ducker wrote a piece about Garnacho being valued at 40 million, which, let's be honest, is a joke. I don't care if you think Garnacho is crap or not. 40 million's a joke. 50 million we can get. If he actually had if he hadn't fallen out of Amarin, we'd have got 60 million. Because he's fallen out of Amarin, I reckon we can get 50 million. But 40 million is a joke. 40 million is a joke. In this market, it's a joke. You can't tell me otherwise. Just saying. Chelsea have spent 55 million pounds on a player that's got 1 goal and 0 assists in his last 30 games, basically. But 40 million for Garnacho, who's Prem proven. Come on. Anyway, let's talk about strikers and the updates going on in regards to the striker market. But yeah, and Boomer could be announced at 7, it could be announced at 8, it could be announced at 6. It'll be interesting to see. But let's dive into this next story on Sesko and strikers. Sesko has a release clause which is thought to be 68 to 86 million pounds. 68 to 86 million. 86 million is a disgrace. Don't pay that. For me, Sesko's a 60 million pound player with a 68 million release clause. If you could get Sesko for 60 million, paid across 4 or 5 installments, I'd do it. 68 million, if you can do it across 4 or 5 installments, is fine. Not 86 million. If you can get Sesko for 68 million, is pricing. It's expensive. It's the same price as Højlund. It's a big risk. I think if you're a big team with a stable environment, you spend that kind of money on Sesko. But if you're United with an unstable environment with not a lot of service, but Sesko is, if you watch Sesko, like he's a talent for sure. I think Sesko can be a top player. But if you watch him now, he's still incredibly raw. And I don't think people realize how raw he is. And I think he could struggle at United because of that. It's a lot of money to play. We are monitoring Nicholas Jackson, who reportedly is 80-odd million pounds, which is ridiculous. Today, we've been told from media that Jackson is valued at 80 to 100 million pounds and Garnacho is valued at 40 million pounds. So you're telling me we would give Chelsea Garnacho and pay 40 million for Jackson? Because if we do that, we're an absolute disgrace. I will say that now. We also have interest in Watkins, but no official contact. Jackson, Watkins, Sesko, and Moise Kean are the 4 strikers Man United are looking at. Jackson, Watkins, Sesko, Moise Kean are the 4 strikers we're looking at. I don't know which one we'll get. I think it will come down to sales. I think it will come down to affordability. I think it will come down to Villa and Chelsea's interest in Garnacho and if potential swaps can be done. But they are the 4 strikers that we're looking at on the market right now. They're the 4 to keep an eye on. We shouldn't be spending big money on a 22-year-old striker again. I agree. I like Sesko. And I think if we were a stable environment where all we needed was a striker and the team was complete, like Arsenal, you spend that kind of money on a Sesko. But when you're not a stable environment, when there's so much that we need to do to become a better club, it's quite risky to spend that kind of money on Sesko. Do you know what? Garnacho to Villa and Amadou and Arnott coming the other day. I'm all for it. 86 million for Sesko is gambling on what could be just like Højlund. That said, Sesko could have better support around him than Højlund did. That's the thing. I think Sesko could be it, but I feel like Højlund, who could have been it, I feel like it's not just will they reach their potential or not. I feel like the environment of Man United doesn't help players reach their potential. So Sesko, if he goes to another club, could reach 86 million pound potential, but I don't think Sesko would reach 86 million pound potential at Manchester United. I think Sesko's a good player. I think he's a great talent. I'm just worried how he would do at Man United. Like, I think there's a very good player in Sesko. I think he's lethal, but I just worry how he will do at Manchester United as a young striker. And the reason I worry is because I look at Højlund. That's what I look at. You know, Mbeumo 71 million, exactly. Watkins knows the league. Watkins is my ideal striker choice. He knows the league. He's my ideal striker choice. Anyway, continuing on. So if you're wondering why I kept bringing up Nicholas Jackson this and Nicholas Jackson that, it is because of news coming out of Chelsea's valuation of Nicholas Jackson. Chelsea value Nicholas Jackson at between 80 to 100, with Manchester United among clubs keeping an eye on him. Chelsea are under no pressure to sell the striker, who has 8 years left on his contract. Chelsea do want to sell the striker. This is the difference between us and Chelsea. Chelsea want to sell Jackson. They're going to act like they don't want to sell Jackson so they can get more than enough money for Jackson. Man United want to sell Garnacho. They've told the world they want to sell Garnacho. They've kicked Garnacho out the squad. They're not letting him train with the squad. The world knows that Garnacho's got no place and we want him gone. So Garnacho's value is lower than what it should be. Chelsea, they want Jackson gone, but they're not telling the world that. They're not letting people know that. They're saying we really want him. He's part of the plans, so you have to overpay to get Jackson. And United need to start doing that. We need to start pretending that Rashford's in the plan, Garnacho's in the plan, even if they're not. Let other clubs think that. Let the outside clubs think that. Let us think that. Let us think that you're happy to bring Garnacho back if that means we can get 15, 20 million more from him in the market. Let us think that. I think Manchester United's strategy could improve there. Sesko will have better players around him and Mbeumo and Cunha. I think Sesko could do well at United. It's just a risk. I think he's a good player, but it's a risk. Would you want Jackson? I'd take him for 40 million, but no. I think he's underrated, but he's not worth anywhere near the kind of price tag being, I'd take him for 40 million. I wouldn't take him for any more. He's not worth that kind of price tag. So yeah, Garnacho was open to a Villa move. Obviously, we know that Chelsea are interested in Garnacho. £40 million, Villa, Tottenham, Chelsea are going to be all over that. £40 million for Garnacho. I think we have 6 or 7 teams all over that. That's what I'm saying. I'm just falling asleep. I don't know why, but my head has just gone all like sleepy. Got to wake myself up. So Garnacho's open to Villa. I think Garnacho's number 1 pick, if I was going to be totally honest, will be Chelsea over Villa. But I think he's probably fed up and will just go wherever. I think Garnacho's going to end up at Tottenham, Chelsea or Villa. He's going to end up at one of Tottenham, Chelsea or Villa. I think he's going to end up at Chelsea or Villa because of the interest in Watkins and the interest in Jackson. I think it could be some kind of swap deal that happens. I think Garnacho will go. I think we will get some big developments on Garnacho's exit this week. I think it could involve a swap deal. I don't want us. Do you know what? I don't like doing business with Chelsea. Chelsea are the type of team to get Garnacho for 40 million and make us pay 80 million for Jackson. They made us pay 60 million for Mason Mount. They made Arsenal pay 52 million for Madueke and 65 million for Kai Havertz. The way that Chelsea are able to sell in the market is a disgrace. I tell you this now, if Rashford was a Chelsea player, he would have been on a permanent deal to Barcelona for 40 million quid. If Sancho was a Chelsea player, he would have got a permanent deal to Juventus for 30 million quid. If Garnacho was a Chelsea player, they would have sold him for 75 million quid. I'm telling you that now. And I'm not saying that Garnacho is worth anywhere near that, but I'm just saying, if our players were Chelsea players, the amount of money they'd be going for, the amount of money we could get for them, would probably be double what we will get for them. Because Chelsea have a way at selling. I don't like doing business with Chelsea because they give us the players they don't want and they take the players they do want. Garnacho to Villa, potentially you could do something with Onana, Watkins, Emi Martinez, potentially involved. Garnacho's open to a move to Villa. He wants a Premier League move. There's been talks with Villa, there's been talks with Tottenham, there's been talks with Chelsea. Let's see how it develops. But I think once one club makes a bid, I think the other 2-3 clubs that are interested in Garnacho will move in. He's rejected Leverkusen. He's rejected moves from abroad. He wants to stay in the Premier League. He must have indication that a Premier League club will go for him because he's rejected other clubs outside the Premier League. So yeah, I think that's something as well. I think the fact that Garnacho's rejecting non-Premier League clubs says to me, maybe an agent or someone's had a quiet word with him saying they will go for him. Maybe he feels like he already knows his next club. Alice is falling asleep. I don't know what it is. It's something about 5-6 o'clock. I get like I get ready for naps. We need to stop buying Chelsea rubbish. I agree. We need to stop buying players that Chelsea don't want. That's what we seem to do a lot. Anyway, talking of buying players, there's been links to Manchester United buying the Royal Antwerp keeper. Raw and Sport believe United will make an official offer for Lammens. Their interest is becoming more concrete. The plan is to collect 15 to 20 million euros for Lammens. If we can get Lammens for about 14 million pounds to be our backup keeper to challenge Onana, I'm very happy with that because I think he could take Onana's spot. Lammens, backup keeper, 14 million pounds, challenge Onana, bish bash bosh. We need an upgrade on Bayindir. Onana's not going on tour. Harrison's going to be loaned out. He's not going on tour. I all of a sudden think these reports that have come out from good journalists in the last 24, 48 hours about us going for Lammens could be because United are generally looking at bringing a goalkeeper in before tour. Royal Antwerp believe that United will make an official offer for Lammens and their interest is becoming concrete. Either this story is being made up because Newcastle have interest, City have interest, other clubs have interest, and they're using us to try and get interest from other clubs to hurry up and make a bid. They've already got the replacement for Lammens. They've already signed a second keeper. They've already got the replacement, so they want to sell Lammens. Are they using United to speed up other clubs? Or are United saying, you know what, we've got an opportunity to get Lammens. He's more affordable than Emi Martinez. We'd have to sell for Emi Martinez. We need a goalkeeper for tour. It's really important. Maybe United are working on Lammens. Maybe we could get some big updates for Lammens now. Maybe we could. Big up everybody in the chat. Big up everyone in the chat. Apparently, Vivel has a connection with Sesko. Yeah, he does. I don't know how much that would help. But he does have a good relationship with Sesko. Bear with me, guys. Okay, I'm back. But I forgot what I was saying. I forgot what I was saying now. What was I talking about? Can't remember. I was falling asleep and I forgot what I was talking about. But look, the men's, we need a keeper. There was a feeling we weren't going to get a keeper unless one is sold. Anana's injured. We're going on tour. We don't rate Bayindir. Bayindir's expected to go. He hasn't been sold yet. It was said that United are likely going to bring in a keeper in the 14, 15 million pound range, under 20 million pounds to challenge Onana. This could be it. His stats are good. I've not watched enough of him to know how good he is, but his stats are good. Yes, this was it. Apparently, Vivel has connections to Sesko. I think Vivel has connections to Sesko. Could it help us negotiate a deal potentially? Does he know Sesko well? Yes, but I don't know. Ollie Watkins in. Garnacho, please ask agent. Look, Watkins for Garnacho swap, I'm open to. What Garnacho for Amadou Onana swap, I'm open to. Yep, she took a quick nap. Madueke to Arsenal for 52. Chelsea got 52 million for Madueke. If Chelsea get 52 million for Madueke and buy Garnacho for 40 million pounds, we have been mugged off big time. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. I need a coffee. I do. I always fall asleep at this time in the evening. I need a coffee. But yes, that is the update on the keeper. We could be making a bid for a keeper. Didn't feel like we were going to make a bid, but now that Mbumo is going to be paid across 4 years, so there's 4 years of instalments in the Mbumo deal, we do have a bit more money to spend. Man United have to sell to sign a striker, but because Mbumo's done across 4 years of instalments, we're sort of in a position now in regards to Brian Mbumo that we could probably do that deal. Because we're doing the Brian Mbumo deal over 4 years, we could probably do another 15, 20 million pound deal before any sales happen. Rashford's been sold. We've made a load of money through sell-on clauses. Not sold. Rashford's been loaned out, but saved us about 15 million quid. We've made money through sell-on clauses of our players. And Boomer's going to be paid across 4 years, so we've got a little bit of money. United don't have enough money to sign a striker without sale. I'll tell you that for a fact. But United do have enough money right now to say if they really want Lammens, and Lammens is who they want, to get him in for the tour. We have enough money to do that. Will we do that? I don't know. But we have enough money to say, you know what? Let's get Lammens in for the tour. I don't know if we're going to do that, but we could be making a bid for Lammens. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if I woke up tomorrow and got, here we go for Lammens. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't be shocked if we don't sign Lammens. I wouldn't be shocked if we hear nothing about Lammens for the next 2 weeks. But I also wouldn't be shocked if we woke up tomorrow and got, here we go for it. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the point I'm trying to make. So yeah, let's continue on. Need to improve at selling first team players. Do you know what? I said this and people gave me stick for this. I know that we want to back Cameron. And I know that we want Sancho, Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony, and Malacia all out the club. But kicking them out of training, not taking them on the tour and saying they're not allowed anywhere near the first team and making it so publicly known is not going to help us sell them. It's going to put us in a position where we'll cave into last-minute loans. So all I'm saying is, cool, back Cameron, don't bring these players back. But if you can keep this hush-hush, or if you can pretend that you actually like Rashford and you actually like Garnacho, we might have got a bit of a better deal. If we just pretended that Garnacho and Amrin had made up, like we did with Sancho and Ten Hag last season, and Garnacho came on the tour and we pretended him and Amrin made up, even if Amrin's not happy about bringing Garnacho on the tour, if we just pretend they made up, we get more money for Garnacho. We get probably 10 million more. Because he's not going on the tour and the public fallout's there, we might only get 40 million for him. And people say, well, that's what Amrin doesn't want to do. I get that. But Amrin's transfer window, he needs a lot. He needs a lot. And the amount that we can do this window depends on sales. Amrin needs a lot of work done this transfer window. But if we don't sell well, we can't do the work that needs to be done. So my question is to you, do you one say, look, he doesn't want any of these players back at training or distracting him, so you've got to back Amrin and make sure these players aren't allowed back, but we'll get less for selling them? Or two, do we pretend that these players have made up with Amrin, even when they haven't, but we pretend things are all good and that we're happy to keep them, so we get 10 million more for them? Because while Amrin might not want these players in training or on pre-season or in and around the squads, when the amount we get in sales will determine what we can do this summer so badly, surely you'd do anything to get maybe 10 million more for Garnacho, or a bit more for Anthony, or a bit more for Rashford. That's all I'm thinking. Alice, any information on Vitek being called up to the first team? Surely he'd be ahead of Heaton. There was reports, and I can't remember who said it. That Vitek was going to start our first pre-season game in America, and he was going to go on the tour. But I don't know how reliable it was because he wasn't involved the other day. Alice, the damage is done. No point talking about it. Everyone knows they are not wanted. Pretending they are wanted won't make any difference. Now it won't. But what I'm saying is, 2 weeks ago when we came back to training, should we have just let Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho and Rashford all back into training and pretended things is cool, rather than not let them back into training? I just think it's about, we need the money from sales. Anything on Hayden Hackney? Nothing credible, nothing new. Look, Man United want a midfielder. That's all we know. Man United want a midfielder. They want a midfielder. We aren't making any active moves. We've had conversations, we've had talks, but the situation is, we want a midfielder. We want to sign a midfielder, but it's probably not going to happen until deadline day. Midfield is going down to the last week of the transfer window. I think goalkeeper and striker could happen before the season starts. Midfield is going down to the final day. Maybe a wingback could be involved as well. We were looking at Estupinan. Who knows? I've got a couple of stories on Rashford. So James Ducker said that Rashford has passed his Barcelona medical and Manchester United will save 12.75 million in wages. We've had some sources like The Times say that we're saving 17 million in wages. James Ducker saying we're saving 12.75 million in wages. I think James Ducker is including the 25% for not being in the Champions League. Simon Stone has said Barcelona's option to buy Rashford is 30.3 million. We're getting a lot of mixed reports in regards to the option to buy with Marcus Rashford. Romano is saying it's £26 million. Matteo Moretta and Simon Stone are saying it's about £30 million. And Chris Wheeler is saying it's about £40 million. I don't know what it is. Romano is the most reliable out of those options, so I guess I would go with the lowest one in Romano. But Matteo Moretta and Simon Stone are very good journalists. So to be honest, Romano doesn't always get everything right. I think it's 30 million. I think 26 million for Rashford is too low. I think it's 30 million. I think it's 35 million euros, 30 million pounds. I think that's what it probably is to get Rashford out the door. Carlos Baleba should be the highest priority. Goalkeeper and striker can wait till next year. I mean, backup goalkeeper should come in to challenge Anana. But I actually think right now, we need a striker, no doubt in my mind. But you've got Cunha, you've got Mbumo. And look, we haven't sold Højlund. We need a striker, no doubt in my mind. But we need a midfielder more. Because we signed Cunha and Mbumo, because we've got 2 goal scorers, I think right now I would go for Carlos Baleba next. Get that done if you can. Work on sales. See how much money's left at the end of the window. And then go for a striker. That's what I would do. I would go for a striker a little bit later in the window. See how the market is. Because the striker markets are falling. If Nicholas Jackson is really £80 million, you might as well go spend that on Baleba. Any other news coming out, Alice? We've covered most of the news stories today. Had a conversation about it. So big up everybody. There's a lot of news stories coming out that are non-Manchester United related. But guys, we're going to go and give Cass a raid. United Cass is about to go live with all the latest Manchester United news. Cass is going to give his thoughts on some of the news and stories going on. So what I'm going to do is in a second, I'm going to go redirect you to Cass, give him a raid, show him some love, go watch his stream as he gets into United news. Big up everybody. Thank you for watching today's show. Bye.